that was something where I was like, oh man, I should have went in on that. Like, there's a few of them that I missed out on, but most of them weren't being written back then.
Right.
It wasn't even being written, and if it was, it wasn't written as somebody who was also a guy of size. So it's like, I probably didn't miss out on too much, but I felt like Damian was so progressive that, and so ahead of his time, that anything that was below that I couldn't do. If something was ahead of it, I had no problem. And I did audition for a lot of gay things that were ahead of that were progressive, that were forward moving. But if I felt like something was like diminishing the movement, especially around the time of Prop 8, I just couldn't do it.
That makes a lot of sense because Damian was so progressive and right. I mean, the Ugly Betty, that was a great role, but yes, I see what you're saying.
I mean, I regret that constantly. I mean, if I, you know what I mean? Like when I think about it, but the way it's actually kind of sad because the way I was handled by gay casting directors, like I felt like it was more the gay and the lesbian casting directors that were spooking me and sniffing me out and then treating me a certain kind of way, it was frustrating.
What about, you mentioned conversion therapy. Talk to me for a minute about that, because I know you recently came out and you did that article and I read it. Like, and this is just my curiosity, like because, I'm gay, like the day-to-day of conversion therapy, like what is that? Because people's minds go, you don't meet someone every day who's been through conversion therapy.
Well, mine was like it was 2 or 3 times a week therapy, and it was confusing, I guess is the word that I would use. Like I just wanted like a diagnosis. I didn't feel like I belonged in the gay lexicon. I was like, I'm gay, and that's why I've always felt like I didn't belong in this world. Now I'm going to walk into a gay club and then everyone gives me the side eye because I'm chubby. And I can't figure it out. I'm like, why don't the gay people like me? I'm supposed to be having tons of sex. I'm supposed to be like enjoying my life and living free right now, maybe finding a boyfriend. And none of these people want that. And it's like, I didn't understand gay culture. And I didn't understand like why I wasn't belonging. And I'm like, maybe I'm not fully gay, And I think that when I grew up, I was definitely bi-romantic, but homosexual. Because the women that I loved, I really loved those women. I gave them everything I could give them, but it would stop at the sexuality. And so to me, that was confusing for me too, because I couldn't understand how I could love this girl, but then I can't sleep with her. And I didn't understand how complicated and fluid sexuality and gender is. Like we're learning now, it was a time where like they had to have a term just so straight guys could take a shower called metrosexual. Like we weren't even into our sexualities yet, and we were trying to just say it's okay to like shave your balls, like, you know what I mean? Like it just became like this thing where it was a very weird period of time, and then there was all this homoeroticism. I grew up in a time in the 80s where like Bill and Ted were like kissing each other and then going fag, like, and like all this other stuff. Eddie Murphy was doing full sets about how he didn't want his girlfriend to have a gay friend because he might have AIDS. Like that's the kind of time that I grew up. And then the precursor after what came after that was like the Dude, Where's My Car, kind of like, let's make out, but it's okay, but it's like not weird kind of thing. And I think that like I was also curious. I just didn't know where I fit. I didn't really understand where I fit in, so conversion therapy to me was like, if I go here, somebody at least say you're gay, and that's what I needed. Like with someone just to like diagnose me. And they kept saying, you're not gay. You're having gay thoughts and gay feelings. And I was like, yes, I am. And they're like, but you're not gay. Don't you feel like you're not gay? And I'm like, I do feel like I'm not gay. Like it was just a mind fuck. Like, and I couldn't really figure it out. I mean, that's what they do. They confuse you. They alienate you from your allies, and they confuse you. And so that's sort of what happened to me.
And there was no physical element, because you've seen movies like from the old days. You have
no, but
thoughts.
but it's not even from the old days. A colleague of mine, Sam, had electric shock treatment. My co-host on my podcast, Yash Jesus, we have a podcast about it, about conversion therapy and about Christianity and queer people. He got exorcised for 3 hours after church every Sunday his whole teen years. Like a lot of different things happen to different people, and it's completely ungoverned and completely archaic and barbaric. And there's just no real way to judge what it was. For me, it was psychotherapy. It was just like tons of like psychobabble just like thrown at me all the time. I had to take written tests and the like personality kind of quizzes that like were revealing information to the therapist that I forgot I revealed because I was taking an exhausting 3-hour test. And then they'd be like, one question, they'd be like, I want to ask you about question number 27. And you'd be like, huh, what's that? Like, and they would be like, have you ever stolen anything over $500? Or have you ever contemplated suicide? Do you think penises are pretty? It was just like every third one was like something about being gay. And I was like, this is weird. Like, I mean, I'm a smart guy. So even as confused as I was, I had a lot of red flags popping up all the time. I was young, naive, and confused, but I still was like, there's something fishy here. And I couldn't pinpoint it, but I knew that my therapist was gay and Christian, and he was going to help me find out if I was gay. But then when he told me he had a wife and kids and he used to be gay, I was like, wait a minute, you can't, what are you talking about? Then I was like, oh, I realize what this is. And I just got the hell out of there.
That was it. That was like the final
It was that
straw.
part. Yeah. It was like the last straw, basically. I mean, it's vulgar, but I love saying it because he had to say it this way to probably get through my head. But he said, what are you afraid of? And I was crying and I was like, I don't want to go to hell. He's like, you're not going to hell. And I'm like, I'm not. He's like, no. He's like, you could be sucking a dick and the second coming of Christ could happen. And it won't matter if you believe in God, and then you're going to go to heaven. Like if you're a good person, you're going to go to heaven. It doesn't matter what you do. And I'm like, it doesn't? And he was like, no. And I'm like, gotta go. And then I went and lost my virginity that night online. Like
that right. You're like, this isn't working. So let's try this other.
Yeah. And I don't really recommend doing it that way. I wish I would have had like a boyfriend, like now the kids get to do, and like hold hands for like a week and figure out what's going on. But everyone's journey is everyone's journey, and I made it out of it. So that's what I'm grateful for. And now, I'm dedicating a huge part of my life so other people don't have to go through it.
That's right. That's great. And your podcast is great. And yes, the kids today do get to have a boyfriend at a ridiculously early age. I did not get that either. So I feel you on that. What was just going back to Mean Girls for a second? What was just the best thing about that experience? I mean, it was such what was it like working like with Lindsay Lohan?
I think the best thing about that experience was making Amy Poehler laugh. Like, God, I felt like I saw God when I made Amy Poehler laugh. Like being treated like an actual movie star. Even I don't even know if I've ever been treated as good since. Like, just they treated us so good on that movie. Like, the level of just first class was just like unparalleled. Even to this day in my career, it was just so nice. They picked you up, they carried your luggage for you. It was like all this crazy like